on today's episode of the Law of Tech podcast.
AI is this technology which can do specific things. It can't do everything. So what tends to happen is that when people come to AI, because they don't have a good understanding of what the technology is and what it can and can't do, they think it can do everything and they overestimate. They have these wild expectations of the technology. So it's important to understand that technology, and this is, I guess, a broader philosophical point, that technology is only a tool, and it's only as good as like the problem it's trying to help solve. Like if you don't have a good grasp of and an understanding of the problems or the actions you want to replicate or the problems you want to solve, it doesn't matter if you have like the most advanced technology on the planet or the most expensive solution in the world. If you have a round peg and you try to put in a square hole and there's no amount of effort or there's no amount of money or there's no amount of kind of reputation that would kind of get that through. So I think it's just thinking about how you can start from the problem and then connect that through to the technology, and then that's part of the work we're doing in terms of creating that language, that shared vocabulary, creating that education and that awareness of what these AI systems can do.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the Law of Tech podcast. We've already reached subseries 2 of season 3 of the show, and in this subseries we'll be discussing the topic of legal AI, really demystifying what AI is in the legal domain, starting with the question, what is legal AI? Really trying to focus on how we can define this technology, what it is capable of, and in what context we use this. I'm your host, Hadasa Drukac, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Marco Mendola.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you, Hadasa.
And for this episode, we're joined by Uwais Iqbal. And as I said, Uwais, I can imagine that your calendar is absolutely jam-packed, so we are super excited to have you on board. And all I can really say, also on behalf of Marco, is welcome to the show. But before we delve deeper into the topic of this episode, a quick word from our sponsor, BettyBlocks. Are you looking for a way to create solutions that will make legal processes faster, easier, and more efficient? Do you want to offer the best client experience with great digital services? Well, look no further than our sponsor for this episode, BettyBlocks. Rapidly build custom legal tech applications such as legal intake portals, ESG assessments without a single line of code. Start building your own solutions today with BettyBlocks. Now, to kick off this episode, the first question that we ask all of our guests is to introduce themselves. So we really want to just give you the word to introduce yourself first.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. I've been following it for a while, so a bit starstruck to be a guest on the podcast. My name is Uwais. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. So my background is actually a bit interesting. So I started out studying physics at university, and then I wandered into technology, and it just so happened that the first job I landed was at Eigen Technologies, a legal tech startup. And as they were growing the company and moving into machine learning, I became kind of more involved in the machine learning initiatives. And then typically in a startup, you get thrown into the deep end. So I had to learn a lot of the practice of AI and machine learning on the job. So I spent quite a lot of time at Eigen, and then I moved over to Thomson Reuters, where I was in the innovation lab as a data scientist. We were running lots of cool experiments with AI, looking at generative AI a couple of years before people were kind of crazy about it. Thinking about how AI can be used with legal content. I spent kind of a lot of time experimenting with deep learning and things like that. And then I was missing the startup kind of pace of things. So I moved back to Thought River, where I was again involved in doing kind of data science at a legal tech startup, thinking about how AI and NLP can be used in contract negotiation, pre-signature. And then at some point last year, I had the crazy idea of starting my own company. I had like the eureka moment of realizing that I had been building the same algorithms and the same code across 3 different companies, and I thought this was really inefficient. And I thought that as time progresses, AI is going to become more important, and it's going to become quite central in the legal industry. So maybe now's a good time to jump ship, start a company, Simplexico, and the timing has worked out really well. Now it's kicking off quite sooner than anyone could have anticipated. So we've been very busy, and at Simplexico we've been thinking about how we can make AI more accessible within the legal industry. So we offer services across legal AI education, design and development, to try and help people in the legal industry make sense of AI, think about use cases in a structured way, and then go about actually building those use cases with AI so that they can actually be adopted and drive value.
I think it's absolutely fascinating, and I think that what you're doing is absolutely massive. And I mean, Marco and I, we've been seeing you everywhere, and Simplexico also. So really, I think
can confirm.
Yeah, really, what you're doing is huge, and I think this is really only the start of it. And also, what we absolutely love about having you on the show is that one of the things that we try to do at the Law of Tech is to ensure an interdisciplinary perspective. So not only talking to people who have a legal background originally, but also to talk to people like you who are in this domain, but are not necessarily or didn't come from law school, for instance. So I think it's super interesting to talk to you about a topic that is huge at the moment. And I mean, this is just my my own perspective on it, but there are a lot of stories going on about AI. Can you maybe explain to us really this, what AI is? Because for people in the legal profession, it's I think, at least talking from my own perspective, it's very hard to understand what it actually is. And I think it's important to start from that point when we talk about this. So
it's important to define terms. If I've learned anything about the legal industry and lawyers, it's important to make sure you get your definitions right, so you're speaking the same language. So AI, one way of defining AI that we like to use is thinking about it as a technique where you want to leverage machines to replicate some sort of human ability to solve problems or make decisions. So there's this idea that, and we have to think about machines in the same way we try and think about humans. And I think that's where a lot of the difficulty comes about, that on the one hand, humans have been doing things, they have tasks to do, they have jobs to do. And typically we've relied on humans to do decision-making, problem solving. That's only humans have been able to do that. Now, with the advent of AI, what we're able to do is we're able to replicate some of those behaviors and some of those skills through machines. So, for example, in the legal industry, one skill that a human could only be able to do would be something like being able to spot a termination clause within a contract. So that's a particular skill, and you needed a human to be able to do that. But now with AI, what we're able to do is we're able to replicate that same skill using machines. So now you can use a machine and not have to rely on a human to do the same task. So it's this idea of there are things human beings have to do, but we can try and replicate those things using machines, and AI is the way we try and do that. So as a fundamental definition, I think if we try and set out that from a perspective of thinking about this technology is just a way to replicate what human beings can do. And then since we're using machines, we get the added benefit of having this ability of scale and kind of efficiency. So like from a definitional perspective and a conceptual perspective, that's one way of looking at AI. And then more practically, what does that mean in the legal space? I think one way to kind of very succinctly structure it is to think about AI as a way of capturing and scaling expertise. So on the one hand, we have human beings who are experts in particular domains, who have like advanced skills after having studied and trained for a number of years. They're experts at these particular skills and these particular problems and making these particular decisions. And then what AI enables us to do is, through this approach of wanting to leverage machines to try and replicate what humans can do, we can capture that expertise through knowledge and through training a machine or an AI system. And then we can scale that expertise, or we can scale that system, so that where previously human beings were the bottleneck, now we can step into a world where human beings are no longer the bottleneck, and we have this potentially infinite scale with AI and with these machines and with these skills. So I think that's that's a perspective which helps you to see the kind of things where AI can be used where human beings have to do particular things.
Just now that we touched, you said rightly, Uwais, let's get the definitions first. I'm a great fan of your fundamentals of AI tool. I've just finished that actually the other day, so I'm going to have my super fancy certificate. But apart from that, a great group of definitions that I really appreciated from my end, not being an engineer, neither a technical, is the big definition and separation between strong AI and weak AI, which is something that helped me massively to have a simple categorization of the principle, because you know better than me how much can be confusing in terms of for educational purposes, understanding the difference between machine learning, proper AI, deep learning, MLN, or all sort of acronyms. So can you expand a bit on the strong weak AI, please? I think it's very, very useful for our listeners too.
Sure. So I think the internet is a good analogy for all of this because in our day-to-day lives, like if you speak about a URL, everybody knows what a URL is. If you speak about a homepage, everybody knows what a homepage is. If you speak about a hyperlink, everybody like understands and has the same understanding when it comes to that language. But we're not in the same space when it comes to AI. Like I don't think we've developed that kind of shared vocabulary, like technical vocabulary, specialized vocabulary when it comes to speaking about AI. And even like with the internet, like we're able to understand it, we're able to use it in our day-to-day lives, but we don't necessarily know about all of the kind of technical machinery of how the internet actually works and how like routers are connected together and how everything's distributed across the world. Like you don't have to know all of that stuff. So I think the same is true of AI. Like there's a level of understanding that each and every one of us has to develop because we're at this kind of inflection point where it's becoming much more mainstream and much more kind of pervasive. And we don't necessarily have to know all of the specifics, but we just have to know enough to be able to kind of have meaningful conversations about it. And one of these important distinctions is making this distinction between what's known as strong AI and what's known as weak AI. So if we go back to this definition of AI, where it's a technique where we want to use machines to replicate what human beings are able to do when it comes to making decisions or solving problems. Strong AI takes a perspective where we have AI systems that are just as good as human beings, okay, that are equally intelligent, if not more intelligent than human beings. And then this is what the understanding of strong AI, and it's also called general AI. So when people speak about artificial general AI, AGI, for example, they're speaking about a machine or an AI system which has developed a complete perspective or a complete kind of capability and intelligence, which is just as good as a human being. And I think that that's important because that's where the talk about the AI singularity comes about, where once the AI system has developed a superior level of intelligence to a human being, you get you get into a singularity and you get into this what they call the intelligence explosion with machines, and then kind of a lot of the science fiction comes about with that. So strong AI is this idea that AI systems which have developed a complete perspective of intelligence as good as a human being, these are strong AI systems. And then weak AI systems are those systems where we don't have that level of intelligence yet, where we have systems that can only do particular aspects of what a human being can do. It might be able to, for example, like identify a particular clause in a contract, or an AI system might be able to draft you a particular email. But on the whole, it can't do very like human things like common sense, logic, and reasoning, and all of these things. So weak AI is also known as narrow AI. And the important thing to understand is that everything we have today, in terms of even ChatGPT, GPT-4, like the most cutting edge AI systems, all of them are weak AI systems. All of them are weak AI systems. And I think like that takes a moment to process and understand. Like these systems are very effective and very convincing and very kind of powerful in what they're able to do, but they're still weak AI systems. So I think there's a testament to like human intelligence and human ingenuity having some level of superiority, but having that distinction between strong AI and weak AI, and recognizing that everything we have today up until now is weak AI is very important. And I think with this, there's also another important caveat to make, which is kind of a bias which is present in a lot of the discussions around AI, in particular that's coming out, the publications and the research and the AI products and models which are coming out from big tech research labs. And that's that all of the big tech players are in this arms race when it comes to AI to try and develop a general AI system. The reasoning and the thinking is that the first person who gets to a general AI system will basically win the arms race and dominate commercially and kind of socially as well to some extent the use of the technology. So underpinning a lot of the research and the work that's gone into, for example, GPT-4, what Microsoft have been doing, what Google has been doing, has been biased by this pursuit of general AI. But from a like a deeper philosophical perspective, there's actually like it's not proven, or it's not something as fact or to be taken as true that we can actually reach general AI. if you look into the philosophical discussions, and this is where it gets really interesting, that nobody actually speaks about these things, that can you actually replicate what a human being can do when it comes to intelligence with a machine? There's kind of researchers on both sides of the debate who say we can reach general AI, and there's those who are skeptical who say we can't reach general AI. So I think a lot of the conversations have been like pivoted towards this understanding of general AI and things like that. But when you kind of look beyond the headlines and you get into some of the more kind of nuanced discussions, there are lots of conversations and lots of questions which aren't easy questions to answer.
No, not at all. And you also come to realize that a lot of the technology, like you just mentioned, like the AI technology that we have, even the most advanced ones, are still weak or forms of weak AI, which it's eye-opening. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it's eye-opening, but it's also a perspective where we've perhaps like not given enough value to human intelligence. That like, what are the really important things which make a human intelligent? Or like this, now we have machines who can replicate lots of these things that human beings can do. What in effect, what value do human beings bring to the table if we can use machines for lots of the things that human beings used to be able to do? And I think that's where the whole question about displacement and thinking about the relationship between humans and machines become very interesting.
I think that's a fascinating question. It's also one that we really want to address in this podcast. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, we will be covering various questions, and one of them will also definitely be probably in a somewhat later episode. And we would also obviously love to hear your thoughts on that episode. Then is like, when do you actually use AI, and when do you resort to humans rather than AI? What are humans good at? What is the AI good at? But maybe to kind of start that discussion now already, in a sense, what can, now you mentioned weak AI then, do at the moment in the legal industry? Like, what do we use it for? What's it capable of in practice? What are we looking at?
Sure. When you look at the history of AI, there's these two winters which took place. So there was like a boom and a bust and another boom and a bust. And some people are skeptical that we're going through the same kind of boom. Eventually it will go into a bust, and others are skeptical and saying, no, like this is it, like we're going to accelerate exponentially. So I think the history of AI is really interesting to see that there have always been kind of the progressives who are pushing for the technology, and the skeptics who are skeptical about the technology. But I think what's different now in the conversation is that like it's immediately tangible how like the AI systems we have today can become like integrated both in our personal lives and our professional lives. Like the technology has become that advanced in that there's so many more things that we can now use the machine to do, where previously we had to rely on human beings. And then that's where the recent advancements in generative AI have like become very, people have been speaking about it a lot in the legal industry, because it's thinking about those things where previously only humans could do those tasks when it comes to generating text, for example. But now the difference between a machine's ability and a human's ability has become almost indistinguishable, that machines can potentially do this kind of work. So I think the history of AI is definitely interesting, because it gives us a perspective of like where we're at and potentially where we're going, and the different paths the narrative might take.
You said also generative AI, maybe just for clarification, how should we understand that in this broader discussion? Is that like a form of weak AI? What is it?
So I should have defined my terms. Yes, good. I think it's important, because if we don't have the right definitions when we're talking about these technologies, then we're not actually having a meaningful, confident conversation. We're not speaking about the same thing. Sure. So I think because this, like the space is so new and the technology is so advanced and it's so complex, I think it's good to get the definitions right. So we said, and then this ties into your question about like what are the particular applications where AI can be used in legal. So when we speak about generative AI, if we speak about the AI part, we want to replicate some ability that a human has in solving a problem or making a decision. Now, though we can, like, that's a whole space of problems or a whole space of decisions that humans operate in. Now, there's particular classes of these problems and decisions humans have to deal with. And one class of those problems and those decisions in particular, like the skills that humans have, has to do with like either generating text or generating images or generating some form of output. And now what we've seen with the recent models, like the recent large language models and GPT-4 and ChatGPT, is that these machines, they can generate text. So they can replicate the human skill of being able to draft text, or the human skill of being able to compose text. And then that's quite significant because text underpins lots of human activities. Like in the legal space, everything happens through text. So previously, where the financial world operates on numbers, like numbers is the main kind of form of data which gets transmitted, which gets communicated, which gets transformed. Machines have been used in finance for a significant amount of time because the data was conducive to being leveraged by machines.
Yeah.
But now with these generative AI systems, it's the same type of situation, but now language is conducive to being used and manipulated and created and transformed by machines. So that's where the generative piece comes in. So going back to your to your question about what are the different things AI can be used for in the legal space. So we've been doing some of this work at Simplexico to try and figure out the areas where AI can be used in legal. And if we take this perspective of AI as a way of replicating what a human being can do in terms of particular skills and solving particular problems and making particular decisions, then what we can try and do is we can focus in on the particular actions where AI can be used to replicate what a human being is able to do. And the interesting thing about actions is that it makes the conversation agnostic to technology, but it also makes the conversation agnostic to potential use cases in the legal industry. So instead of speaking about like e-discovery use cases or due diligence use cases, or instead of speaking about like large language models or like I don't know deep learning models, for example, speaking about the actions focuses on like the particular problem or the particular human thing you want to try and replicate with AI. So we've filtered this down into maybe 6 or 7 different actions where AI can be used. The first one is around using how AI can be used to extract information. So as a human being, one thing lawyers have to do from time to time is go through a passage of text and extract meaningful data points. So think about reading a contract, for example. There's particular data points that you need to extract, but you have to read the contract before you're able to get those data points. Now you can use machines to extract that information and go from unstructured text to structured text to structured data. So this particular action of extraction is something AI systems can do. And then the same is true of labeling information. So in the knowledge management space, lawyers typically have to spend time organizing information, labeling passages of text, labeling documents, labeling clauses. AI systems and machines can label information, can label text. They can also compare passages of text. So if you have 2 passages of text and you want to determine what the differences are between them, then that's something AI can do. AI can replicate that action, and then that's useful in use cases around contract review, contract negotiation, but also looking to spot differences in regulation and legislation and things like that. Yeah. So we have extraction, we have labeling, we have comparison, and then there's actions where you have a collection of documents or a collection of texts. And then this is where you can use AI to either organize that information. So how do you kind of take a massive collection of information, structure it in a really meaningful way so it's easier to understand, it's easier for a human to then go to 1 million documents, instead of going to 1 million documents, going to kind of selections of 10 to 20 documents which have been clustered together or grouped together to find out what's there. So there's use cases around that in the discovery space. And then there's the other one around finding information. And these are kind of like search use cases where you have a large collection of documents, maybe their cases or their existing precedents, or it's a contract bank, for example. How do you use AI to surface the most relevant thing you're looking for? So these are some of the actions. And then the more recent ones, which have become like more popular and which are in kind of the popular conscious at the moment in the legal space, is around drafting and summarizing information. So drafting, for example, lawyers have to draft emails, they have to draft motions, they have to draft briefs, judges have to draft judgments, that kind of thing. So now AI can be used in a capacity to carry out that drafting action. And then the last one is around summarization, going from long form text to a short form summary. And AI can also do that action. So when you take a perspective and you step back and you think about it in legal, there's lots and lots of different applications. There's lots and lots of different use cases where AI can be used.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, these are like the core 7 actions. So extracting information, labeling information, comparing information, and then on a collection of texts, organizing information, finding information, and then in the generative sense, drafting information and summarizing information. So you end up with these 7 kind of core actions where you can, if you understand these core actions and you understand that AI can do these core actions, then you can go out as a practitioner of law or someone closer to the legal domain and just see where are human beings doing these actions, where are human beings looking for information, where in the legal process of a legal workflow is a human being trying to extract information, where in a legal workflow is a human being trying to draft information. And then you can immediately spot, oh, like that's something we can try and use AI to do.
Yeah.
So it's trying to give people the ability and the tools and the frameworks of conceptually and starting from the definitions and bringing out these actions to see where AI can be used in these different spaces.
Well, maybe also then, now that we kind of understand what can AI do in legal, what are these actions? Maybe I would say perhaps the most fun part of the episode is also to understand perhaps what it can't do, and also demystifying some of the misconceptions about what AI can do in legal. So specifically in legal, and I think that you probably have a lot of experience with this also from your perspective within Simplexico and your previous experiences. So
I'll start with the misconceptions. So I think there's these sensational headlines which get peddled around and they go through phases. One of them is around AI replacing lawyers and the advent of the robo-lawyer. So I think
again, no.
It comes around, like it cycles through. It has phases.
Oh,
but
it
like,
reaches the headlines, right?
It always reaches the headlines. But it's like that's not going to happen. So I think people can be rest assured that although there will be kind of a transformation in how technology is used in the legal space, I think humans will still be around, lawyers will still be around. We need lawyers and humans to still be around to monitor and have oversight and control and train these AI systems. So I think lawyers won't be replaced, but what will happen is, so there's two narratives. So one is this competition narrative where you get these ideas about AI replacing humans because humans and machines are in competition with each other. And then that's just a construction or someone's presented that idea. But then the narrative we want to try and kind of spread, and what we're working to, and part of our mission is to do this, is thinking about how we can step into a future where legal professionals work in collaboration with machines, because that's kind of all of the potential futures, that's the best future for humans and for wider society when it comes to like the role the law plays in society. So it's thinking about like, of the options we have in terms of where the future can go, how do we work towards that in terms of like educating people, making the technology more accessible, and like demystifying these crazy misconceptions. So that's hopefully one kind of headline we can debunk. And then the other headline to debunk is like, AI will solve all of your problems. That's not going to happen. AI is a specific technique which can do it's a technology which can do specific things. It can't do everything. So what tends to happen is that when people come to AI, because they don't have a good understanding of what the technology is and what it can and can't do, they think it can do everything and they overestimate. They have these wild expectations of the technology. So it's important to understand that technology, and this is I guess a broader philosophical point, that technology is only a tool, and it's only as good as like the problem it's trying to help solve. Like if you don't have a good grasp of and an understanding of the problems or the actions you want to replicate or the problems you want to solve, it doesn't matter if you have like the most advanced technology on the planet or the most expensive solution in the world. If you have a round peg and you try and put in a square hole, there's no amount of effort or there's no amount of money or there's no amount of kind of reputation that would kind of get that through. So I think it's just thinking about how you can start from the problem and then connect that through to the technology, and then that's part of the work we're doing in terms of creating that language, that shared vocabulary, creating that education and that awareness of what these AI systems can do. So that's like hopefully some misconceptions debunked. What AI can't do, I think it's really important to point out that there's these particular skills and these particular capabilities that AI systems have. Now we're at the point where AI systems can generate text, but what AI systems struggle to do or can't do is anything involving sophisticated reasoning or logic. So AI systems can, like, through language, they can learn how to solve math, but when it comes to more sophisticated things, when it comes to like legal reasoning or making a judgment or kind of reasoning through different pieces of evidence to come to a conclusion, AI systems will struggle with that, because that's where like the limit of the technology is at the moment. So if you go to ChatGPT and some of these generative systems, they can generate cogent text for you. You can ask it to write like a contract in Shakespearean English, and it will go away and do that. So it's good at those things. But if you try and give it a more sophisticated scenario of trying to solve like a question of that requires like refined legal logic or requires some level of legal reasoning, it will struggle to do that. So there's things it can do, and there's things it can't do. But what's important to understand is that if you have a perspective of the things it can't do, then there's nothing to say that as these AI systems develop, those capabilities might be unlocked within the next 6 months to 12 months, potentially 2 years down the line. Like we have ChatGPT today. Where will things be in like the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Who knows? So being aware of the limitations of AI and also understanding the potential use cases connected to those limitations is useful, because then you can start acting in preparation for when you have AI systems that can do those things. Then you're ahead of the game. So I think knowing the current capabilities is good, because you can try and build that into your practice or try and leverage those capabilities today. But then also understanding the limitations is important for tomorrow, so that you could strategically set up your business, your operations, your kind of data collection, so you can enable those use cases when that technology becomes available.
Yeah, definitely. Where there's a limitation, there's also an opportunity.
For sure.
And it's really a matter of setting your expectations and really understanding then what is it capable of, what isn't it. But definitely not falling into this this kind of science fiction / misconception realm, because I don't think that will really help anyone any further.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to ask themselves the question about like where they are getting an understanding or how they are developing an understanding of AI. Because if you speak to the majority of people, and this is no fault of their own, it's just what's happened by osmosis, the majority of people, the way they've developed an understanding of AI and the technology is through the marketing material of tech vendors, or through sensational headlines. And then that's not a good way to kind of create an informed, factual understanding of the technology. So I think there is like an opportunity there to step back and say, hey, like, where am I taking this information from? Where am I getting my learning from? Is this factually correct, or is this kind of marketing material which has been like inflated for a certain goal to achieve a certain perspective? So I think at the moment the hype is definitely there, and the education or having at least an understanding of the technology makes it easier to filter through the noise and see through the hype. Because I think the most like the way I see it and the way we're looking at it at Simplexico is that AI is going to be transformative across every industry, and even the legal industry. The legal industry is not unique, however much it wants to feel special or unique. The legal industry is no different from every other industry. So I think there is like legal AI will definitely be transformative in legal. It will have there's so many applications where AI could be used in the legal space, but how do we like get to that point of using the technology effectively faster? Because there is like that whole phase of like hype and inflated expectations, and then being disappointed and coming through disillusionment. But then how do we get to that productive place where we understand the technology, but we get there in a way where we kind of shortcut some of those fallacies and some of those kind of barriers? So it's more about like, how do you cut through the hype, and then how do you understand and think about and use AI in a legal way, in the legal space, so it's transformative?
And I think it all starts with education, like you just mentioned, like understanding what we're talking about in the first place. Maybe give you like a brief moment to also talk about your fundamentals course, which we've talked about like 100 times during this episode. So I want to give you the opportunity to talk to that before we head to the wrap up of the episode.
So to answer your question, the fundamentals of AI course actually came about because I was having conversations with quite senior people in law firms who were making purchasing decisions about AI tools, and they didn't necessarily have the understanding of being able to differentiate between the buzzwords and the hype. And I thought there was a need. So as I was engaging in more and more of these conversations, I kind of realized. So as someone technical, I kind of have a different. I have a particular perspective that I'm coming from a more technical space, coming to kind of try and communicate with people who aren't as technical. So part of it was thinking, how do I kind of help people understand AI in a way where it's they can have this language of being able to, number one, think about the technology in the right way, and then also number two, speak about it in a way where other people can understand it. So it's not just being able to drop buzzwords in the right context, not knowing what they actually mean, and then nobody actually understands what you said anyway. So it's neither here nor there. So that was kind of one of the ideas. But then it was also on the back of what I had been seeing and experiencing in the industry around, like, there was just so much hype that there wasn't really a space anybody could go to try and understand like the basics of AI, to try and make sense of this all. So I started developing the course and thinking about the course before like the recent wave of generative AI and ChatGPT. So that was kind of the main ambition. It's how do you make the technology as accessible as possible in the first instance by allowing people to understand how the technology works, what it is, and how to speak about it. And then beyond that, how do you kind of like design and develop solutions, which is what we're trying to do with the company. Mm-hmm. So that's how the course came about, and it's been interesting because it's not it's very basic and it's really straightforward. Like, what's AI, what's machine learning, what's natural language processing, but the bar is so low, and I think this is a problem. Like, the bar is so low in terms of having clarity and transparency around technology more generally, as well as like AI in the legal space, that I think like we have to try and push to move past this hype and this kind of this smokescreen and all of this that's going on out there, because it's only when you have a shared understanding and you have a shared language, it's only then you'll be able to kind of get to those use cases and get to like actually this technology being transformative. So I think I see it as like a step towards that goal of that future of where AI becomes AI lawyers and legal professionals are working in collaboration with AI. I think where we are at that in kind of that journey is at the very beginning in terms of being able to understand and speak about the technology in the right way.
Absolutely love it. It's incredible, and it's interesting because we always ask when we have another specific spotlight series. We call that. We talk to you may be familiar with it, but it's called the Legal Tech Startup Spotlight, where we talk to legal tech startup founders and their teams. And one of the questions we usually tend to ask is, how do you get everybody to speak the same language? And I think that your course and your work is a perfect example of how you really start from the bottom. And from the bare basics, which is the most important thing, and it might not be shiny, and it might not be, the very definition of a hype or a hype way of talking about things. But really, you don't need that. You really just need to understand what we're talking about in the first place, and that's what will lead you to be able to talk to others. I think we had a really, really wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining our episode and for having a chat with us. It was it was really wonderful.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Law of Tech podcast. If you want to make sure you keep up to date with the show and never miss out on an episode, be sure to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice and follow the Law of Tech on social media. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a rating or review, as it helps others discover the show. And don't forget to share it with your network. For now, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Law of Tech podcast.